So if we go back to our example, what other element have we added to our game here to make it more difficult and enjoyable for the player? That's it. We've got some kind of hazard or enemy that appears to be chasing us around. So let's have a go at programming that. Well, how about this time? We actually go into the game that I've made earlier and we have a look at the programming on the shark, and let's see what this programming is doing. So let's look at it. Now the great thing about programming is you can kind of read it like a book, and it generally is very logical and makes sense. So let's have a look. So this is the shark that we've programmed here. When the green flag is clicked, forever glide 1 second to diver. So what this means is the shark is going to take 1 second to glide towards the diver's position. So if the diver moves, the shark moves. What do you think might happen if I change the number of seconds that he takes to go towards the diver? What about if I change it to 5 seconds? So let's press the green flag. And we can see now he's going to spend 5 seconds going towards where the diver last was. Now what's the problem with using this many seconds? It makes our level too easy. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to find the right number that works for your game. 1 is quite difficult. Now what if you wanted to make it even more difficult? Are there any smaller numbers than 1? Could you think of any smaller number than 1 that you could have a go at? What about half of 1? And what about if you had to type that in as a decimal? What would that be? Okay, 0.5. Now let's have a go. The shark's going to be moving around very, very fast. So fast that the game is going to be too difficult. But maybe you could make a second level that gets harder. So, alright, let's have a go back to our other game. We know we need to add a new sprite. You can decide what character you would like. I'm going to search for a shark. And let's go for this shark this time, why not? So here's our shark. I think maybe he's a tiny bit too big. I might just make him slightly smaller. And I might play with that direction button. So I'm going to make him just go left, right direction. Now we need to build some code to make our shark swim around. So how could you do that? Pause the video and see if you can have a go on your own. You want the shark to repeatedly, forever, glide towards the diver. So have a go at that. So you've probably managed to get your shark working now. So you needed to use this glide command. So glide 1 second to the diver, and we used a repeat loop, didn't we? And we used a forever loop. Okay. Now, as you can see, our shark is only facing one way. If you wanted, you could make him perhaps point towards the diver, a bit like the way our diver is pointing towards the mouse pointer. But that's up to you. You can have a go at that if you like. Now, the shark is very entertaining. He's swimming around, you know, in interesting ways. But it's not actually causing very much difficulty to me as the player. So let's have a look at our other example and let's see what else is happening. So when we're swimming around, we can see in the top left that we have a variable here. A different variable that we've made, and we've called it lives. So it's just a number that goes up and down. And when do you notice that that number goes down? That's right, you'll notice the number goes down when we touch the shark, okay? So what we're going to have to do, and you'll see it's got to -1 here, which is interesting. We'll fix that. So I wonder if you can remember how to make a variable. So we go down to variables on the side here, and we're going to make a variable. Now this variable, we could call it lives. You might want to call it hearts. Now we need to think. So we can actually make a new bit of code here for this, because this works nicely on its own. It doesn't matter if we have another simultaneous bit of code over here. So simultaneous just means two things happening at the same time. So What do you think would be fair? How many lives do you think we should give the player at the start of the game? I'm going to give them 5 lives, for example. So if I go down to variable, and I want to set lives to 5. So when we press the green flag, it's going to set lives to 5. Now this is where I need your help. When do we want the lives to change, and how do we want them to change? If we say change by 1, that's going to make lives increase by 1. So how do you think we can make this lives variable number go down? So you might have figured it out. We're going to actually have to change lives by -1. Now the challenge is, when do we want the lives to go down by 1? What is it that's happening? What do we want to tell the computer to check for to make lives go down by 1? Now if you think about the star, there's some clues in here as to how we might do that. So if you're feeling brave, why don't you pause the video now and see if, based upon the programming we've done for the star, if you could use the same idea but on the shark. Have a go. So I'm wondering if some of you were feeling brave and you might have got that working. So have you got a shark that touches your diver and then makes your lives go down by 1? What did you have to use to make that work? So that's right, we're going to use an if statement or a conditional statement. So we're going to grab an if statement, and so we're programming the shark. So if the shark is touching what? Shark is touching the diver, then we want to change lives by -1. Now are we finished? Is that code done? Let's see. So lives are on 5. Oh, it doesn't appear to be working. My lives are not going down. Now you might have figured out that's because, like our other bit of programming, we actually need to put this if statement inside a repeat loop or forever loop, because we want the computer to repeatedly check to see if this statement is true, if this if statement is true. So let's have a look. Let's read our bit of code and see if it makes sense to us. So when the green flag is clicked, we're going to set lives to 5. Happy with that? And then forever, for the whole game, if this shark is touching diver, then change lives by -1. So let's have a go at that. Oh, I mean, it is working, but what's the problem that you notice over here? What's the problem here? Now, if you think the computer isn't going to guess what it is that we want it to do, it's going to literally do what we tell it to. And we've programmed to say that if the shark is touching the diver, we should change lives by -1. So that's what's literally happening. So what we need to do is we kind of need to trick the computer a bit. We need to give our player a chance to get away from the shark after they've lost 1 life. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use this simple wait block. We're going to say, for the whole game, if our shark is touching the diver, then we're going to change lives by -1 and then wait for 1 second. So this means that the computer will not be changing lives repeatedly. It's going to change lives by -1 and then wait for a second. And that will give our player 1 second to get away from the shark. So let's have a go. We'll go full screen and we'll see if this works. So we started with, oh, we've just lost a life. We've lost another life. But as you can see, we lose a life and then the computer waits for a second before it would do anything else. And if we collect the star, and we're avoiding the shark. So have a go at programming your shark to make lives go down by -1 every time you touch the shark. So have a go.